Breaking news coming in within the past hour. Survivors of Jeffrey Epstein's horrific abuse have begun to speak out, shaking the foundations of the U.S. legal and political system. In their first interviews, survivors are revealing shocking details about the high-profile figures involved, including politicians, business moguls, and even royalty. The official story? Epstein was a lone operator, a predator using his wealth and connections to exploit vulnerable women. But analysts warn, the connections run deeper than anyone anticipated. As survivors' testimonies flood the media, pressure is mounting on the justice system to finally hold those involved accountable. But critics are asking, can the powerful be prosecuted when they have so many resources at their disposal? Meanwhile, former U.S. officials who were once close to Epstein have remained silent. Some speculate they are being protected by foreign powers, while others argue there's a coordinated effort to bury the truth. The question is this a fight for justice or a cover-up that's been decades in the making?
Well, those files do exist.
Yeah, thousands and thousands of pages of files. They'll redact every Republican or conservative person in those files, leave all the liberal, democratic people in those files.
I think they visited that Maxwell person.
Yeah.
And also involved.
Got transferred to a minimum security prison too recently, which is against BOP policy because she's a convicted sex offender. They're offering her something to keep her on shut.
That was the acting deputy chief of the Office of Enforcement Operations, Joseph Schnitt, telling a stranger about the FBI and DOJ's handling of the Epstein files. Schnitt, who works at a high level inside the Department of Justice, goes on to comment on the inconsistent statements, special treatment of Ghislaine Maxwell, and the blatant backtracking on promises of transparency.
And what do you do for work again?
I work for the Department of Justice.
Okay.
Been there like 23 years.
Yes, today we are going to talk about the list from that black book. As you've seen in this clip, there are some names that we never see just because the government is trying to hide some names. Yeah, there's some Republicans' names that we never see because the government is trying their best to hide the names. So today we are going to see in this video some survivors from, the Hare Island survivors, talking about how it was, and we're going to see some other new names that are out. So watch this and please make sure to subscribe if you haven't, and like this video and watch it to the end because we have a lot of things to talk about. We have a lot of things that we are going to see. Watch this.
My friend's got a girlfriend and he hates that bitch. He tells me every day.
Oh, you mean this woman? This victim of Jeffrey Epstein's, who named both Trump and Bill Clinton during the press conference yesterday? Because I noticed that you failed to mention that Donald Trump was also mentioned by her. See, we've known about Bill Clinton. We've heard about that. We want to know more. We want to know exactly what's going on, and I haven't heard anyone defending him. But she's fighting for her life in the comment section, making responses like, you didn't know or care who Epstein was until you thought Trump might have something to do with it. Meanwhile, on the right, we've been fighting to expose PDF files for years. When you were voting for them, when you were literally getting them elected to president, I haven't seen anyone defend Bill Clinton. I have seen only people that I know that are in my sphere, that are in my algorithm, talking about expose everybody. So let me make my position at least abundantly clear. Guillotines don't give a fuck what's on your voter registration card. Let all the heads roll. And if we need a bigger basket, somebody better get weaving. Because I don't care what your party affiliation is. Every single person who aided and abetted Jeffrey Epstein in the horrific things that he did to children, their heads should roll. But while she and others are like, Dems don't actually care about this, it's Donald Trump's White House that's literally warning Republicans that signing on to a petition to release the Epstein files will be seen as a hostile act toward the Trump administration. Why would that be a hostile act toward Donald Trump for the files to be released? Do you think maybe it has something to do with the fact that they released some files yesterday trying to placate people, and like 98% of them had already been out, and the few that hadn't looked like this? He's not on the list, he's not involved, but he had more than 1,000 FBI agents go through more than 100,000 documents redacting his name and the name of other conservatives. Who are they protecting? What are they afraid of getting out there? Republican Rep. Thomas Massie, who's been pushing for the release, had thoughts in a recent interview.
I'll give you the name of one of the billionaires who's running $2 million of ads in my district, since I started this effort. His name is John Paulson. He's a hedge fund manager and a major donor to the Republican Party, a major donor to the Speaker of the House, a major donor to the president's campaign, and he's in Epstein's Black Book. Now, that's public, but that's indicative of the types of people who may be implicated or just embarrassed by a complete release of these files.
Since he's been speaking out, that billionaire has spent $2 million in his district against him. I wonder why. Or how about how James O'Keefe tweeted, breaking, DOJ deputy chief admits government will redact every Republican while, quote, leaving all the liberal Democrat people on the Epstein client list. I don't normally go to O'Keefe as like a source of information, but he made this statement and then the White House responded and they didn't call him a liar. They didn't say that isn't true. They just talked circles around it. What those victims had to say behind closed doors to Nancy Mace caused her to have a full-blown panic attack. And they are working hard to keep the public from knowing what that is, to knowing who is actually involved. You are not the good guy if you're the one who's trying to keep that kind of information from getting out there.
And shout out to the people who are encouraging these survivors, because, you know, it's not easy to mention some names. There are some big names that if you mention them, you know that you are just putting your life in trouble or in a risk. But there are some people who are just there to encourage them and to say, just give us names, then we just announce them, we just put them out. They're trying to encourage them, and I think these people, these survivors need a huge security. They need to be protected, because it's not easy. So we are going to see other names, as you've heard some names already. So let's keep on watching other names. Then we're going to see how survivors found themselves in that island. Keep watching.
Women who say they survived abuse at the hands of Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell gathered at Capitol Hill today to call for the release of all the so-called Epstein files. One by one, they shared their stories, some speaking publicly for the first time ever.
I was only 14 years old when I was introduced to Jeffrey Epstein.
I have never been more scared in my life than I was that first time that he hurt me.
I was being raped every single day, sometimes for 3 times a day. When Ghislaine herself, by her own hand, forced me into Jeffrey Epstein's room to be raped. I've spent the last 17 years trying to get some form of justice, trying to put together a life for myself, and I haven't been able to do that. If the FBI and the governmental institutions listened to Maria Farm in 1996, I wouldn't have been raped. Liz Stein, the other survivor, I was 10 years old when she was being trafficked. I was 10. I'm now 37. I was 10 when she was being raped. This was an international sex trafficking ring that trafficked hundreds of children and young women into the thousands.
I was only 14 years old when I met Jeffrey. It was the summer of high school. I was working 3 jobs to try to support my mom and my sister when a friend of mine in the neighborhood told me that I could make $300 to give an older guy a massage. From 14 to 17 years old, I went and worked for Jeffrey instead of receiving an education. Every day I hoped that he would offer me a real job. That day never came until he finally told me that I was too old. Today is the first time that I ever speak publicly about what happened to me.
Us Epstein survivors have been discussing creating our own list. We know the names. Many of us were abused by them. Now together as survivors, we will confidentially compile the names we all know. In the year 2000, I was taken to Jeffrey Epstein's island while on a photo shoot on a nearby island. Who I saw and what I experienced there was a glimpse into a very dark and disturbing world. For years after, I tried to avoid Jeffrey. Epstein's reach went to the very top of fashion, arts, and entertainment. This did not just happen to underage girls in Florida. In New York City, hundreds of young, ambitious women were abused by him.
Australian Virginia Giuffre Roberts was one of Epstein's most prominent accusers. She took her own life earlier this year. Her family were there today to share her story. They were joined by politicians from both sides of the political divide, calling on Congress to pass legislation that would force the Trump administration to release all of its investigative files in the case surrounding Epstein. The victims gathered today saying they were now looking to put together a list of Epstein's known associates. And one of Trump's strongest allies, who split from the party to back the bill, saying she's even prepared to name them.
I'm not afraid to name names. And so if they want to give me a list, I will walk in that Capitol on the House floor and I'll say every damn name that abused these women.
As they were meeting, the US president tried to dismiss it.
So this is a Democrat hoax that never ends. Thousands of pages of documents have been given, but it's really a Democrat hoax.
The bill is currently stalled. It would need another 2 Republicans to endorse it. It follows the release of more than 30,000 pages related to the Epstein case late yesterday. However, the majority contained information that was already public.
Good afternoon, everyone. We just spent more than 2 hours with 6 of the Epstein victims, some of the bravest women I've ever met. They're very courageous. They shared their stories. Some of the ladies have shared these stories publicly before, but at least 2 of the women had never told their stories before, one for the very first time in the room. And so there were tears in the room. There was outrage. It was both, I would describe it as heartbreaking and infuriating that justice has been delayed so long.
And we do not care how powerful, how connected, or what political party those that have victimized and caused horrific pain and sexual abuse to these women are. We will seek justice. Donald Trump has the power right now to release all of the Epstein files and documents. Right now. The DOJ is refusing to release the documents that have been subpoenaed. So there is a White House cover-up at the very highest level in getting the American public the information to bring justice to these victims. And I think it's very important for everyone to understand that.
We subpoenaed 6 former attorneys general, as well as Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton. We've expanded that to Alex Acosta. Acosta's coming in, I believe, September the 19th, 16th or 19th. We've got that date down. I know that we'll have a lot of questions for him with respect to an earlier Epstein prosecution that he was involved in when he was U.S. attorney.
But I want to be clear that what we heard today is a cover-up. And it is a cover-up of epic proportions, a cover-up involving the United States government, the justice system, rich and powerful individuals, a cover-up potentially involving foreign countries and foreign actors. And yes, here today in this House, as our colleagues are up in the House chamber in the Rules Committee, a cover-up by the Republicans in this chamber. Because as you will find out in the coming days and weeks, this goes all the way to the top.
I'm sure many of you don't recall, but we were sent home early to try to avoid being able to take a vote on something like getting these files. We are about doing real transparency. We don't care who's in the files. We are going after you.
When you don't have the House and you don't have the Senate, we're pushing and using every tool that we have. And why this is important, it is about Epstein, it's about these survivors, but moreover, it is about an administration that refuses to tell the truth, that refuses to protect young girls. It is about an administration that wants you to look away. Well, we heard girls today who are in their 30s who talked about being raped when they were 14. We heard a young girl talk about being told that she would be able to pay for her mother's cancer treatment if she just cooperated. And we're talking about folks in this building and at the highest levels of government potentially being implicated.
Yes, that is it. And among the names that have been being mentioned, there is the big name, the biggest name, Trump. I've been thinking why Trump is just keep on coming. So I've got some videos shows why they are just mentioning him. Watch this.
Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein first became acquainted in the late 1980s to early 1990s. Both men were active in New York in Palm Beach high society, which made it easy for them to cross paths. Trump was already known as a wealthy businessman and real estate developer, while Epstein was building influence as a financier with powerful connections. In 2002, Trump gave an interview to New York Magazine in which he described Epstein as a friend. He said, "I've known Jeff for 15 years. Terrific guy. He likes beautiful women as much as I do, and many of them are on the younger side." This comment has been widely quoted because it suggests that Trump was aware of Epstein's preference for very young women, even if nothing illegal was directly acknowledged. There is also video footage from a 1992 party held at Mar-a-Lago, Trump's private resort in Palm Beach, Florida. In the video, Trump and Epstein can be seen laughing together, pointing at women, and enjoying themselves in the company of cheerleaders. This footage supports the idea that the two men were socially close at the time. Flight records from the 1990s show that Trump and some members of his family flew on Epstein's private jet. The jet was sometimes referred to in the media as the Lolita Express, although there is no evidence that illegal activity took place on the specific flight involving Trump. Epstein also kept a personal address book, sometimes called the Black Book, which contained names and contact details of many high-profile individuals, including Donald Trump. This book has been made public through court filings and investigative journalism. Epstein also once claimed, according to author Michael Wolff, that Trump was one of his closest friends. He reportedly told stories about their time together, including nights in New York and Atlantic City, where they would look for women to meet. Epstein described these outings as part of their routine during their friendship. However, by 2004, the relationship between Trump and Epstein came to an end. Reports suggest that their falling out happened during a bidding war over a luxury mansion in Palm Beach. Trump won the bid, and some sources say Epstein never forgave him for it. Other unconfirmed reports claim that Trump banned Epstein from Mar-a-Lago after complaints that he had behaved inappropriately toward young women working at the club. While that ban was never officially confirmed, it has been repeated by various media outlets over the years. After Epstein was arrested in 2019, Trump publicly distanced himself from him. When asked by reporters, Trump said, "I had a falling out with him a long time ago. I was not a fan of his." He claimed that they had not spoken in over 15 years and denied any close relationship after their fallout. Later, during his political campaigns, Trump made additional comments. He at one point promised to release grand jury transcripts and other documents related to Epstein's criminal network. However, he later shifted his position, calling the people demanding the documents troublemakers and referring to the Epstein issue as a distraction created by political opponents. No official legal filings or testimonies have ever accused Trump of participating in Epstein's sex trafficking activities. Multiple news outlets, including the Washington Post, have confirmed that there is no direct evidence linking Trump to any of Epstein's crimes. Still, the fact that he was once socially close to Epstein continues to raise questions, especially in the court of public opinion.
What do you think? What do you think? Leave a comment below and tell me what you think about this. Yeah.